You ever see a headline that a massive company just sold off $1 billion piece of its business, and you think, wait, where did that come from? It's like this high-stakes corporate drama that happens completely in the shadows. Well, today we're going to pull back that curtain and dive into exactly how these secret deals get done.
But first, you got to understand the stakes. Get this, somewhere between 70 and 90% of all mergers and acquisitions are actually considered failures. Yep, they either miss their financial targets or they completely tank shareholder value. So when you're playing with billions of dollars, you absolutely cannot afford to get it wrong.
So that brings us to the big question, right? How on earth do these companies manage a process this complex? We're talking thousands of employees, market-moving information, all while keeping it completely under wraps. Well, we're about to look at the secret playbook these companies use to beat the odds.
And the need for secrecy is just absolute. A single leak, not even a fact, just a rumor of a sale can send stock prices into a nosedive. It can scare off customers and, of course, create total chaos for employees whose jobs are suddenly hanging in the balance. So control is everything.
So, to manage all that risk, successful companies don't just, cross their fingers and hope for the best. No way. They follow this incredibly meticulous, multi-stage process that's designed to control the flow of information at every single step. Okay, so this timeline right here is basically the roadmap for the whole journey. It all starts in this top-secret due diligence phase, before anyone knows a thing. Then it moves into the controlled chaos of execution right after the announcement. And finally, it ends post-day one, when two totally separate companies emerge. So let's walk through it.
We're going to start with the most critical, most secretive part of the whole shebang, due diligence. This is where the deal is actually born, and it all happens inside this highly restricted environment with a very, very special team.
First things first, you need what's called a clean team. Honestly, you should think of them like a corporate special ops unit. They're this small, totally isolated group. Often they're external consultants, sometimes even recent retirees, brought in just to handle the most sensitive information. Critically, they have no personal stake in the outcome, which means their analysis is completely objective. And where does this team work? In the clean room. And no, this is not just some meeting room with the door closed. It's a secure, isolated digital fortress, usually hosted on third-party servers to keep it separate from the company's own network. Access is just ruthlessly controlled, it's monitored, it's restricted, nothing gets in or out without multiple layers of approval.
Just look at the level of lockdown here. This flow is incredible. A request for even one piece of data has to go to a central office. Then it goes to the legal department to make sure it's not an antitrust violation. Then it has to get final confirmation from executive sponsors. Only after all those checks does the clean team get the specific data they need, and even then, their findings have to be approved by lawyers before management ever sees them. It's an absolute fortress of confidentiality. And just to give you a real sense of how tight this circle is, in a case study of an actual Fortune 50 company, the entire clean team was just the COO and 5 outside people. That's it. 6 people deciding the fate of a billion-dollar business. Okay, so with that tiny team's work done, the secret is now ready to become a headline.
And this is where the mission changes completely. The secret work is over, a buyer has been found. Now comes the moment of truth, the public announcement, and the goal flips from total secrecy to trying to manage the inevitable fallout.
Right after the announcement, the work splits between two totally different teams. On one hand, you have the tiny corporate strategy team. They get access to the most confidential data. We're talking salaries, sensitive contracts, to figure out what the remaining company is going to look like. Then you have the much, much larger divestiture team, and their job is the messy day-to-day work of actually separating two companies that have been woven together for years. They're untangling IT systems, reassigning contracts, all of that stuff.
So, what's that little strategy team deciding behind closed doors? Well, only the biggest, most sensitive questions facing the company. As you can see, their top priorities are figuring out the future budget, planning the new employee structure, which, let's be real, means deciding who stays and who goes, and renegotiating massive vendor contracts. These are the decisions that literally shape the future of thousands of people.
So we've seen all these elaborate, almost paranoid precautions. Let's tie it all back to the big picture. Why does this extreme level of secrecy matter so much?
This quote from the case study says it all really. The success of the entire multi-billion-dollar deal depended on that confidentiality. They even kept the top executives of the business they were selling in the dark, just to prevent any potential conflicts of interest. The big takeaway here is that secrecy wasn't just part of the strategy, secrecy was the strategy.
And the payoff for all that hard work is huge. This kind of extreme control prevents illegal insider trading, which protects the integrity of the deal. It shields shareholders from wild speculation. It minimizes the chaos for employees by letting the company control the story. And, of course, it maintains negotiating power with everyone, from vendors to competitors. Every secret has a purpose.
So, did it actually work in our case study? Oh yeah, absolutely. When the deal was finally announced, the market reacted with total confidence. The stock prices of both the seller and the buyer jumped by 10%. Now that is what a well-executed, confidential process looks like, a result that creates value for everybody involved.
And all of this brings us to one final interesting thought. We've just seen the incredible, almost unbelievable lengths companies will go to maintain a secret. But in today's world of social media, constant data breaches, and instant communication, is this kind of corporate fortress even possible anymore? Something to think about.